This battery can allow you to be completely self-sufficient. This is the Fossibot F7200, and it's the most powerful and complete portable system I've been able to test on this channel. You can connect up to 3,700 peak watts of solar panels to it to generate your own electricity. We have 5,200 watt-hours of storage, so we can be self-sufficient in any situation. And you can power devices up to 7,200 watts with peaks up to 9,000 watts, so you can power an entire house. At home, we have a system that makes us completely self-sufficient. And when we travel, we just have to unplug 23 cables and roll it out to be self-sufficient anywhere. Careful, the thing still weighs 70 kilos, it's portable, but you shouldn't try to move it every day. It's an excellent product, thanks to Fossibot for sending it to us to test, and I can't wait to show you everything it can do. Let's start from the beginning, how to produce our electricity. And for that happens at the back of the battery. To start, you can recharge the battery by plugging it into a household outlet. In about 2.5 hours, it can recharge at up to 3,000 watts. You can also recharge it using the XT60 port and a cigarette lighter socket with up to 240 watts. What really interests us is actually producing our own electricity with solar panels. Still at the back, we have two MC4 inputs with a switch. Remember to turn off the switch before making the connections and turn it back on afterwards. On these MC4 connectors, you can directly connect up to 2,500 peak watts of solar panels with a total voltage between 120 and 450 volts. In other words, you'll need to connect the solar panels in series so that the voltages add up. A 500 watt peak solar panel produces about 40 volts. So, at a minimum, you'll need to connect three 500 watt panels in series to get 1,500 watts peak power and 120 volts of voltage. And at most, you can connect five 500 watt peak panels in series to reach 2,500 watts peak and 200 volts. Below that, there's another input for solar panels via the XT90 connector, which can handle up to 1,200 watts peak and 55 volts. On this XT90 connector, you can, for example, connect three 500 watt peak solar panels to reach 1,500 watts. It's not a problem if it's more than what the battery can handle, because in any case, it will just be limited to 1,200 watts. And I would even say that it's a good idea to oversize your setup, because if you put in 1,500 and it's limited to 1,200, you'll reach that 1,200 more often during the day. And so overall, you'll still produce more electricity. This time, we can't connect the panels in series. Otherwise, we'd reach 120 volts and burn out the battery, which can only handle 55 volts. So we're going to connect them in parallel to keep the voltage at 40 volts. And of course, the whole point of this system is to connect solar panels at the same time to the MC4 port and the XT90 port to produce up to 3,700 peak watts of solar energy. Be careful though, in France, normally you're not allowed to install more than 3,000 peak watts of solar panels by yourself without having Consul inspect and approve your installation. The police aren't going to come to your house to arrest you for that. However, if one day you have an incident, like your house catches fire for example, whether it's because of the battery or not, the insurance company will come to check. And if they manage to prove that you installed more than 3,000 watts of solar panels, they can tell you no, we won't reimburse you. Your solar panel setup is illegal, so it's your fault if your house burned down. So here's what I advise you. You can connect 3,000 watts of solar panels to this battery without any problem, and at worst, the extra 700 watts. You install panels that can be easily removed so that, from an insurance point of view, you have 3,000 watts in fixed panels and 700 in foldable or easily movable ones, which won't count, and you can remove them at the last minute, let's say, if there's a problem. Anyway, that was my advice. So, 3,000 watts to stay within the law, and 3,700 if you want to push the system to its absolute limit. The Fossibot F7200, as we've just seen, allows you to produce quite a bit of electricity, but above all, it lets you store a lot of it. Generally, when designing a system meant to save energy, when you want a system to be profitable as quickly as possible, you look for a system that has storage capacity equal to 1.5 times its production capacity. Here, we have 5,200 watt-hours of storage in this module for 3,700 watts of solar panels. That gives us a ratio of 1.4. So overall, this configuration is very cost effective if you want to save energy. But if our goal is to be 100% self-sufficient, then generally, what's recommended is at least 3 times as much storage capacity as production capacity. So we need a lot more batteries. And that's great because with this Fossibot F7200, you can connect up to 2 battery extensions to reach 15.66 kWh. With this storage and an energy-efficient house, you can be self-sufficient for several days, even if there's no sun. For self-sufficiency, I recommend getting at least 1 extension because in the summer, you won't have any problem being self-sufficient, but in the winter, you might only be able to fully charge the batteries 1 or 2 days a week. And so you'll need enough storage to last until the next ray of sunshine. At the back of the battery, we saw how to produce our electricity. In the middle, we saw how to store it, and now we're coming back to the front to see how we can use this energy. Unlike other batteries I've tested on this channel, this one isn't plug and play. You can't just connect it to a household socket to power your devices. Actually, the socket that allows you to recharge this battery is not bidirectional. You can charge, but not send power to the grid. At most, at the back, there's a socket to connect an inverter, an external microinverter, which would allow us to turn this battery into a plug-and-play battery. But you'll see that in front, we have other solutions to use this energy that are much more interesting. At the front of the device, there are 4 AC outlets that can be turned on or off, and each can deliver up to 3,600 watts individually and 7,200 watts in total. So, for example, you can plug a 3000 watt heater into this outlet here, and then not into the outlet next to it, but into this one, plug in another 3000 watt tool, for example, to have a total of 6000 watts, and the system will handle it very easily. We also have a 100 watt USB-C port, a 20 watt USB-C port, and an 18 watt USB-A port. But the most interesting solution, in my opinion, is that you can connect this battery directly to your electrical panel to power your entire house, even in the event of a power outage, and even if you're not connected to the grid, to be fully self-sufficient. Electricité. Still, be careful, it's not plug and play, it's a riskier installation, and I recommend, if you don't know what you're doing, to call a professional, an electrician. It's really a very quick installation to do, it's really not complicated. It won't cost you much to have someone come and do the installation, but at least it will make sure everything is up to code, done properly, and you'll avoid burning your house down. The battery has 2 circuit breakers to cut power during installation, which we can turn back on after everything is connected. Below, we have 2 sockets for banana plugs that come with the battery, and that will allow us to connect our live and neutral wires, and further down, there's also a connection for the ground wire. We'll then bring these 3 wires into our electrical panel and connect them to a circuit breaker to power our panel and therefore our whole house. I'm not making a more detailed tutorial that explains exactly how to do it and which circuit breaker to use for the panel, because even I haven't exactly understood what needs to be set up. The manufacturer in the manual and on the website doesn't really explain what needs to be done to connect this to the panel. So, I don't want to take the responsibility of telling you how to do it. Call a professional, or if you've already done the wiring at home or if you know how to do it, let me know in the comments. That will allow us to maybe figure out how to do it, but still, be careful. So, we're still sending 7,200 watts through these plugs into our electrical panel. That's not a small amount of current. We still have quite a lot of energy, you shouldn't mess around with it. For the app, it's not as simple as you might think because, first of all, there are 2 apps on the App Store, Fossibot Plus and Fossibot, but those aren't the apps for the battery. That made us lose a good half hour, but the app is Bright EMS. Once I open it, I was able to connect the battery without any problem. And now, I can see that it's charging because I plugged it into AC. You can see AC in, it's at 12%. And now, I've set the input to 600 watts, but I could charge it up to 3,000 watts. Below, I can turn the USB ports or the AC outputs on and off. That allows me to control my devices that are connected to it remotely. So it's not the nicest app I've seen. Sorry, Fossibot, but I have to be honest, it's not the nicest one I've seen. I'm saying it diplomatically, but it gets the job done. At least we can see our out and in graphs, the charging, and the estimated time to fill up the battery. I have access to a lot of additional settings to manage the discharge limit. For example, here, it's set to 0%. I'm still going to avoid letting it discharge below 10%. Always keep 10% if you want the battery to last over time and wear out less quickly. However, I do want it to recharge up to 100%. And then we can have charging settings. Silent AC charging, that means I think it will limit the charging power of the battery so it doesn't use its fans because there are fans on it. So if it sends too much current, it cools itself actively and that can make a bit of noise. Anyway, so this app, I have to admit I don't want to spend hours on it because, as I said, it's not super nice or super user-friendly. But I think this isn't really a battery that's meant to be tinkered with using an app. It's more of a system. So you install it in your laundry room, in your garage, you connect your solar panels to it, you hook it up to your electrical panel, or you plug devices directly into all the AC outlets, etc. And then through the app, you just generally monitor if you're producing, how much you're consuming, and if everything is working properly. And after that, you don't think about it anymore, you just leave it aside and everything actually works. So it's not an app where you'll come back to it often and enjoy seeing what's there, because basically there's just a big battery with a percentage. Fossibot, if you're watching this video, improve your app a bit because the battery is really good, but the app... Anyway, let's move on to the next part of the test. We've gone over this all-in-one system that's really powerful, which allows us to produce a lot of electricity, store it, consume it, and control everything entirely through the app. Now, the painful question to finish, how much does it cost? Well, not that expensive considering what it is. It's 2,799 euros for the F7200 and 1,700 euros for each additional extension. The batteries are guaranteed for 5 years and are rated for a lifespan of 6,500 cycles at 80%, so the battery will still have 80% of its capacity. After 6,500 cycles, that means it has a lifespan of about... If you want to generate electricity while on the move, Fossibot also sells foldable solar panels. But if you're setting up a fixed installation, I recommend going with standard 500-watt panels, which cost about 150 euros on average, without the mounts. To have a complete system, you would need a Fossibot F7 and 8 500-watt solar panels with mounts, which brings the total installation to around 4,500 euros. If we connect our solar panels with a 4,000-watt peak output to the F7200, we should save an average of 1,000 euros per year over 17 years. Taking into account that the price of electricity increases by 3% per year, and that the panels and the battery will gradually degrade. The system with the battery and all the panels pays for itself in about 5 years, and it has a 5-year warranty. So it's as if Fossibot is telling us, I guarantee this system for 5 years until it pays for itself, and then you can enjoy it for free, have free electricity for at least a dozen years, which is the rest of its lifespan. So it's an excellent value for money. I think it's really a good investment, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. You just have to type Fossibot on YouTube to see a lot of content about this brand. These are generally products that people really like. I'm curious to hear your opinion in the comments. Are you already using this product? Are you planning to buy it? Have you had a good or bad experience with the brand? I'm looking forward to reading your thoughts. The operating temperature of the battery ranges from 10 degrees Celsius to plus 40 degrees Celsius. So that means you can easily put it in a laundry room, in a garage, or in a slightly insulated garden shed. You can't leave it outside in the rain either, but it doesn't have to take up space directly inside your house. And I'm going to wrap up this video here because honestly, I don't have much more to say. It's a system that's not that complicated. There aren't 1,000 things to explain. It allows you to produce electricity, store it, and use it. We have this feature that I find very interesting, which allows us to power our entire house by connecting the battery directly to our electrical panel. It's a little bit dangerous if you do it by yourself, but if you call an electrician, it's really a very, very interesting option, and I haven't seen it on any other. I really want to emphasize that it's a good idea, but this kind of wiring isn't meant for everyone. Let me know your thoughts on this review in the video comments. feel free to comment and share the video. The goal is for this to be a collaborative review where you give advice to others to let them know if this would be a relevant system for saving energy. More importantly, I think it's more relevant for that to be 100% self-sufficient in electricity. If you enjoyed this, subscribe. We'll have more tests on the channel. In a month, we'll be testing another very interesting system. And soon, we'll be releasing reports where we'll visit eco-friendly houses and meet inspiring people who are 100% self-sufficient, so that might also really interest you. All right, I'll let you check out the channel after this video ends, which is happening now. That's the end of the video.